Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's your guy Horen Saroma as usual. Today, we're gonna make a simple story out of everything we ever had to discuss. I just want to ask a simple question. Why sometimes do we make life difficult and we intend not to perceive and get the original idea about what we interact with in our daily occurrences in life? Today, I want to talk about most of the people based on what we deal with. There is these things we call the wrinkles, the wrist bangles that we do wear. Some containing rainbows, some containing a lot. This has a lot of spiritual meaning that it has to bring a different spirit in you. If you are a lady that is wearing up such, you are welcoming the spirit of prostitution and the spirit of lesbianism, then unakosea. You are taking a wrong decision because God himself is not for all that you are saying. God had a particular pattern and means of how each and every individual should ensure that they led their lives, and you guard your life according to it as a temple of the Holy Spirit, and generally that is what we intend to have as a living soul and a living being in the all dimensions of life. Alongside this, I also need to let you know and bring into your attention that most of the times it is very embarrassing and again very funny. And I want you guys particularly to help me understand a few things. Number one, if you read from the book of Genesis 2, a gentleman had to leave the parents. A lady also had to leave the parents. They come together and become one. And so is recognized as a family and a marriage that God has united through the consent and acceptance of the parents. And if at all you are doing this, you read through that, you understand, and you ensure that in the process and in the market, this is what we normally do. And I ask very many and various of different intensity or backgrounds in the life, regardless of where you are coming from, the race, the color, the gender, or what. But this is what I have to tell you. If you look at that culture, even to the spiritualism or to the Christian life, through the biblical references that we do, we ensure that we follow the culture of the Bible that refers us and get us back to our own traditional cultures and cultural practices. Whenever you want to marry and you want to engage yourself and make yourself a family, a lady, just like we said, you had to go back. I had discussed something of this previously, and I'm today again stressing on it because there is something of significance, there is something of great value that we need to have. If at all you were to marry today and the parents doesn't give their consent of whether you should take their daughter or you should get married to their daughter, both, whatever can happen. What happens in such? You ensure that everybody, whenever the parents are not comfortable with such a relationship, it can't continue any longer until they come into agreement. Yes, we understand because some of the parents of people are also jealous, can also do something out of their spiritual weirdness, okay? But there are people in their right conscience when they tell you no this, there is one or two, meaning there is something fishy about the marriage that you are intending to organize so that you get yourself along with, and you understand that everything that works in that point will only work for somebody based on a reason and a particular theory. And this is why the parents, before they give their consent and their blessings towards you guys, they will have to ask you a few questions that confirms indeed you two are ready and are in agreement so that you become one. Why then do you think, even in our current churches, even a pastor, a bishop, reverend, or whichever, they will ask, are your parents in agreement for you people to be united together? With them, they only come to be as the third party and the witnesses that we intend to have. And with the same intensified knowledge and ability of what we actually discuss, a lot of people are wondering where we are heading. And in the book of Genesis, it has not indicated where, when, and how, and who should betroth. But it is very clear the parents must give their consent and everything must work according to that. For you both come together and you move as you agreed. And God gave his consent into such through the ability of the parents from the both sides, so that you ensure that everything you are doing, it's right. Just the same, without their consent, then it can't work. And I want to ask you people, many a times we've been struggling out on how to do it. And when that has been done and the parents gave their consent and they blessed both of you and they prayed and released you in good faith, you understand that that has become a holy matrimony, a marriage that has been unified by God through the ability of the parents. You understand me? Why then, if the parents come during your wedding day and they say, no, we never gave consent to this, we don't like what is happening, this must stop, even a pastor cannot force that to continue. Why? And yet they are the ordained ministers of God that should be initiating maybe such kind of programs. It is important, and thus even to the church, they also go back to the traditional way and ask according to your culture back at home and ensure that everybody is in agreement. Is when everything works smooth and well. Let us work out things diligently, pray out to God so that upon the identification of the right one that we're gonna have, upon identification of the right one that you are desiring to have and hold, so that you can have a family together. Blessings and the consent of the parents is more important, and through which the parents, God has united you. And even God is in agreement, because that is the mandate he ordered. One of the duties of the parents to do is to bless. And even in the 10 Commandments says that it is the only, obey your parents, honor your parents, so that you may live long. Meaning it is the only thing and the only commandment with a promise. Why parents? We must understand and ensure that we appreciate, we validate, and we conform to our culture, traditional culture, because the spiritual aspect and the spiritual meaning of a marriage lies in the hands of our parents, upon them giving us agreement, the consent, after we have confirmed to them that you are ready to take yourself through the same journey. Climbing to the mountain needs a lot of energy, and you will struggle, and a lot of effort, a lot of dedication, a lot of commitment. And so is that. Let us try. Let us be very careful and keenly learn into it, so that we may also ask God to guide us through and let us ensure that everything we have as a point to discuss, as a point to give, as a point to ensure that we also have a continuity of our own. The generation, you must ensure that your generation is in a continuation. You must ensure that a replica of yourselves are now coming based on the holy matrimony that God has given unto you. You have a holy work for the blessing that God has for you, and you also have a responsibility as a living soul. If your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit, and the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit are one, they are living, the Spirit of God is living in me, living in you. Therefore, act like one, because we were created in the image and likeness of God, that we need to behave like Him. Everything that God had worked on for the entire 6 days were very good and perfect. And that's why we talk of the perfection and not good. So, it's high time we understand ourselves, understand your culture, understand your background, understand your ancestral spirits, and then understand who your people are before any other person comes. Is when you can let everything roll smoothly and you work on it. Ensure that whoever will meet this video, try to share this video and make it reach very many people as fast as possible, and ensure that I get your comment, so that if you have something of concern that I also need to address, I'll be impressed with that and I'll take it positive. But ensure that you share the video, guys, and let it reach very many. Let us learn. As we summarize, I told you, don't just put on things because you see people using them. Rings, bangles, some are of spiritual, had a lot of spiritual meaning. And that we will talk and discuss into details in my next video, so that you get to understand when I'll be carrying all that as an evidence, so that I show you what it is and what it is all about and how it works. But for the meantime, let us understand, let us ask God to help us, so that the Spirit of God can interpret what happens in the life, so that we can understand the spiritual meaning of us living as the living soul. Share, like, remember to comment, and let people get this news. You looking at me there, stop being jealous of your brother.